Speaker Kevin McCarthy is ordering House Republicans to open an impeachment inquiry into President Biden, even though GOP investigations thus far have yet to find any evidence of wrongdoing. McCarthy is directing the heads of the House Oversight, Judiciary, and Ways and Means committees to lead the inquiry. The Speaker says it will focus on whether the president benefited from his son Hunter's business dealings, among other things.
These are allegations of abuse of power, obstruction, and corruption, and they warrant further investigation by the House of Representatives.
NewsNation's Joe Khalil is live with us with more. Joe, McCarthy's launching the probe without holding a vote in the House, as he had previously said he would do. Is this because he doesn't have the votes?
Yeah, we thought he was going to do that. That's what he said. It would have been a tough vote, to be very honest. And so he's moving forward ahead. Don't know exactly why, but he's moving forward, just instructing those three members to begin the impeachment inquiry into President Biden. And today the Speaker laid out the reasons why he felt it was justified. But it's important to understand that he was under immense pressure from people within his own party to make this move. So we may not have the package there, but okay, may not have the package. Elizabeth, want to just tell you a couple more things that are important about this inquiry, and if we can get it, then producers just let me know. Having this impeachment inquiry today actually changes the dynamic between some Republicans and some Democrats as it relates to President Biden and the banking records for his family. I'm told we do have the package, so let's go to that.
I am directing our House committee to open a formal impeachment inquiry into President Joe Biden.
House Speaker Kevin McCarthy greenlighting an official inquiry into whether President Biden committed impeachable offenses, tasking three of his most powerful committee chairmen to lead the probe.
You know, the months that we were gone and the weeks, House Republicans have uncovered serious and credible allegations into President Biden's conduct. Taken together, these allegations paint a picture of a culture of corruption.
But the move comes as Speaker McCarthy is under immense pressure from the more hardline members of his own party, not only to impeach Joe Biden, but to slash billions of dollars in proposed spending, a move that could lead to a government shutdown. Just minutes after Speaker McCarthy's announcement, one of the self-described MAGA Republicans, Congressman Matt Gaetz, threatened to hold a vote to remove McCarthy from his position as House Speaker if he didn't meet a list of Freedom Caucus demands.
Do these things or face a motion to vacate the chair.
Republicans are alleging President Biden benefited from his son's overseas business dealings, citing $20 million that flowed into bank accounts of Biden associates and some family members from overseas companies while Joe Biden was vice president. An impeachment inquiry, according to Republican Congresswoman Nancy Mace, will allow Republicans to dig deeper and learn more.
When you have the DOJ, the FBI, and the IRS trying to block your investigation and stonewall your investigation, no, we absolutely have more to do, more to investigate.
But the White House and Democrats in Congress say this is all purely political.
The impeachment inquiry is absurd. The American people want us to do something that will make their lives better, not go off on these chases and witch hunts.
White House spokesman Ian Sams says there's no substance to any Republican claims that Joe Biden acted corruptly, saying, quote, House Republicans have been investigating the president for 9 months and have turned up no evidence of wrongdoing. McCarthy's own Republican members have said so. This is extreme politics at its worst.
So, Elizabeth, the dynamic I was talking about, some Democrats months ago, when the House Freedom Caucus was threatening to vote Speaker McCarthy out of his role, some Democrats said if they're going to do that simply because he was negotiating on the budget with Democrats themselves were going to vote to save Kevin McCarthy. Well, I asked one today if now House Freedom Caucus members vote again to remove Speaker McCarthy, do Democrats have his back? And I was told that goodwill may have dried up now that there's this impeachment inquiry moving forward.
Thanks so much for watching. Go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.